For Santa Cruzans, it's water, water everywhere, but precious few drops to drink, following several of the driest, hottest years on record in a row. We Santa Cruz County residents are about to have a much closer view of the limits of our watershed.
Some parts of the county use groundwater and some parts of the county use surface water. The northern part of the county relies more on surface water, the stream flow, Loch Lomond Reservoir, and then when you get into mid-county and south county, it's pretty much all groundwater. A little bit of surface water for Watsonville, but mostly all groundwater. The stress really first starts to show up in the streams. The streams they're fed by groundwater storage, but a lot of that storage is shallow, and after about the first dry year, you really start to see your stream flow drop off. You get into a second and third year, and the streams really they actually start to dry up.
The good news and bad news, Santa Cruz County is on its own when it comes to water supply. Too far and too steep to be reached by the state water system, Santa Cruz County has always developed and managed her own supply, and so must solve the shortfall locally. Despite years of water awareness and a good track record of conserving and decreasing pressure on that supply, it's time to double down. Mandatory rationing will now require and enforce another 15 to 25% reductions.
We are looking at only a 20% chance that this year, which is drier than 77, which is the drought of record, will actually become less dry than the 1977. So this could become the new drought of record in this community anyway, and also in the state. And I think that is indicative of just how dry it's been. March, we had some good rain, and at the end of February, so it kind of took people's minds off of things, and the grass that you can see out here got kind of nice and greened up, but that's not going to last, and we're not having the typical rainfall even this month, and we're heading into the dry season.
Let's look at the big picture, a snapshot of our watershed. Surface water sources, rivers and creeks and rain in the north, groundwater sources, and the Pajaro River in South County. No rain means Santa Cruz City residents have to cut back. No rain and overdrawn groundwater, the Soquel Water District and Watsonville areas need to ration.
Most of the county has problems. Most of the whole county. In the Pajaro Valley, the groundwater basin there has been overdrafted since at least the 50s, and we have seawater intrusion coming well inland in that area. Mid-county, the overdraft has probably been going on since at least the 1980s. Scotts Valley area, that area has been overdrafted since the 80s and 90s. And then in Santa Cruz, we've known that we have a water shortage anytime there's a drought, and the city's been working on that for 20 years to come up with some sort of a drought water supply, but pretty much every part of the county has issues.
Our water basin's already overdrafted. That means less water has been raining and recharging the aquifer that's being pulled out. You can think of it as an overdrafted bank account. That's been happening for many years. So in our situation here in mid-county, we'll have to cut back about a third or get a supplemental supply to replace that third. Basically, we're short a third of our water supply, so we either need to cut back or get supplemental water, and we need to do that for about 20 years to make up the deficit. Our board has said to go ahead and implement a longer-term plan, so our agency, besides exploring supplemental supplies, additional water supplies such as recycling, stream water diversion, sharing with Santa Cruz potentially, is looking at a plan that will be implemented this summer, late fall. We call it our water use reduction plan, and that is to help people reduce their water use by roughly about 10-15% overall. The higher users will have to reduce more. The people who are at average or below won't have to reduce that much. It's water budgets.
Nowhere is our current water shortage more dramatic than in the wooded community of Lompico and its 500-home water district. Nostalgic images of crowds playing in the local swimming hole have given way to a state bailout and the need to connect a $125,000 pipeline from neighboring San Lorenzo Valley Water District to have water at all.
Yes, the pipe is being built, should be done within a month. And what that will do for us is allow us to rest our wells. It'll allow us to pull the pumps and motors, bail and swab, if you want to say, acid treat, whatever it takes to try to rehab those wells, because our biggest producer is what we call well 7A. A year ago it was producing like 28 gallons a minute, now it's producing 14. Our wells need to be rested. They're run 24/7.
Lompico was identified by the state as being imminently in danger of running out of water. The state was able to provide some emergency funding to construct an intertie between Lompico and the San Lorenzo Valley Water District. The San Lorenzo got on it, designed the system, and they're building it starting last week. So that was something that, you know, from the time a problem was identified, it only took about 3 weeks to actually free up the money and get going on the project.
We need new tanks. The redwood tanks are great, but redwood leaks. Redwood gets holes. Redwood, the insects get in it. So you get leaks, and so we just had divers in one of our old 100,000-gallon redwood tanks, and they were inside. They go inside the tank. They're all in diving stuff, and they were touching the side of the tank, and it was just sloughing off. The tank is just rotten. And they're not, well, for one thing, I guess you can't even get redwood tanks anymore.
Right.
They're all steel bolted tanks.
Actually, I think it's really a good time to have this experience. Not that we want to have a drought, but we do have, I think, a reliability issue with the water supply that we've been talking about in this community for quite a long time. So having this situation kind of be in the backdrop of the Water Supply Advisory Committee that we're about to start, I think is really illustrative of the things that the water professionals have been concerned about. We've been doing a lot in this community over the last number of years, especially with conservation. We can do a lot more with that, but we also have this vulnerability to really the unprecedented dry conditions that we're experiencing this year, and that's one of the things we're here to talk about.